Welcome everybody to Tales from the Tackle Shop, episode 12, and we are entering a new era. We're going to try again and try and get this on video.
We'll try.
Last week, I think we have to tell the tale, it's quite funny. So, because of COVID, I can't have Alex around my house. So I thought, Alex, I've got a brilliant idea. We can do this quite easily. I'll give you one of my GoPros. You can video yourself. I just need the memory card to get the video link to the audio because I'm recording the audio, hopefully, separately, like we do normally for the audio podcast. Yeah. So I didn't give you any instructions for the GoPro. I just gave it to you, didn't I? So
Yeah.
last week we had the pre-recording phone call to make sure we knew what we were going to do. So Alex has got this thing set up, and I think it was recording. Because and then I got Alex to show me what he was doing, and if I hadn't have interfered, I think we'd have been all right. But Alex pressed another button, I think, without realising, and we didn't know what happened. So anyway, after we finished recording the podcast on the Monday night, I then spent probably about 2 hours trying to link the audio with the video footage I had, which was a real pain because I had to learn some new things that I didn't know about, and then I looked at my phone and thought, it's okay, I've recorded me and Alex talking on FaceTime. But I only had 3 minutes, which completely confused me because we were on the phone for over an hour. So I thought, oh, maybe it just needs to download to my phone. So anyway, Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock Tuesday morning, Alex drops off the GoPro with the card. I pick it up, look at the card, and there is about 3 minutes of video footage and about 630 JPEGs, which for any Fenland boomers out there, they are just photographs. Alex had taken 630 photographs of himself last Monday night. So, yeah. So we had no footage of Alex. I had no FaceTime recording because I then since learned as soon as you go over the hour, it starts to loop round again. It doesn't save it. So we only had footage of me sitting here like this, and I thought I really can't subject people to that kind of view for 45 plus minutes of us rattling on. So we're not going to be deterred, are we? We're going to try again this week.
No, we'll try again.
I've written Alex a little list of using the GoPro, and I think he's got it sorted. So never. Oh, look at that! You've even got a beer. Not to be outdone by tech. We're going to try again. So everybody listening. If there's no video on YouTube, you know
it's happened again.
You know we've ballsed up again. But we'll try our best and see if we can get this working. So this is where we are at the minute. Right. So hopefully we've resolved the problem. Okay, Alex, have you got those rigs that you were describing last week with you?
Yeah, I've got. I used a few of them again that are very similar this week, so we'll go over them.
Should we do that as we go
I'll
through?
Get a quick picture of the flat floats that I used last week. So I'll just hold that up to the camera. Hopefully you see that.
Show it to the camera because the FaceTime footage is not great.
Yeah. So the reason why I use these is obviously last week the river was really fast. And although it's a shallow venue, it looks faster than what it actually is a lot of the time. And sometimes you can use a normal flat float like this, which are brilliant for holding back dead still. But I think when you're fishing for roach and small skimmers and stuff like that, I think you need to put it through a bit more, sort of half pace or 3/4 pace. I think if you're fishing for big fish, then you'd still use the traditional hold it back dead still type flat float, which I had one of them rigged up, but I never even put it on because I didn't really think it would be that. But you always cover all eventualities. But going back to these, the reason why these are different is most flat floats, I'll come back to this one, most of the flat floats don't have an eye, so you put a rubber on the top and then obviously 3 or 4 down the stem, which is quite handy. So obviously you can just pull them off your winder and away you go. Whereas these ones, if you can see here, they've got an eye. So the eye is straight. So that means you can run the rig through at normal pace, like a normal float, like that. Then when you hold it back, it acts like a flat float then. Obviously, you can't hold back dead still because of the angle and of the line coming off the body. But this basically acts like a sail and just steadies it up as it goes through. And you can just run your rig through at half pace, 3/4 pace. And sometimes that's the difference. A nice bristle on it. I mean, I've painted that bristle up a little bit with some bristle paint. Just a bit of known hard as nails on the body there, just so the line doesn't cut into here, because obviously there's a lot of strain on that. And yeah, so that rig I caught a few fish on last week.
Alex, can I just stop you 1 second, buddy?
Yeah.
What is the name of that float?
So this one's a Colmic Navy float.
Cool, because we need to. What we need to try and do is describe this in audio as well.
Yeah.
So obviously it's easier for the guys who've just got the podcast. They can work out what's going on. So 1 second, buddy.
So yeah, these are Colmic Navy. There's 2 or 3 patterns on the market now that Hydra do, which I think we touched on in the a podcast that we did with Simon. He does the round, which is a hollow bristle, which is slightly thicker than these Navy ones. They just offer you a different presentation, even when it's not raging like it was last Sunday. They just, even like a 0.5, 0.75, you can just itch your rig through totally different how you would a normal
and
round body.
The ring of the eye is...
Yeah, so the eye is permanently fixed.
Right next to the bristle, the bottom of the bristle.
Yes, so it's straight.
Yeah.
All right.
And the line
so
runs
yeah,
down
so they're
the stem.
a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think these sort of floats have been really popular this year. I think Alan Scotland did an article in one of the magazines earlier on in the year, and there's just so much water now about through the winter. The rivers seem to be moving more than they ever used to. Canals are moving more because they've got extra water, more boat traffic maybe. So, excuse me, definitely want some of these in your armoury if you're going to be fishing the drains.
That's really good. I mean, and also
even Town Welland to a certain extent. When we do eventually get back on there, it pulls one way for 10 minutes and then stops dead still, and then it'll go the other way and back up really hard, and then it'll stop dead still, and then it'll gradually move. It just bounces from lock to lock, and they're just brilliant.
Would you have literally one rig made up with that permanent throughout the winter now?
Yes. I think March is totally different. I think normally you'd get away with your normal floats at March, but when it's just got that little bit of extra pace, had a little bit of rain come into it, I think definitely have one of these set up.
It was certainly hooning through last week, wasn't it? It was.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had a 2 gram one of these set up last week. A 2 gram and like a gram, something like that. But I did catch on them, but I was fortunate enough to catch in the slack water at like 14.5, 16 metres. And the rig that I used for that, I think a lot of people have seen the videos and that I've done. I've used the Census Basie float quite a lot. And these are basically not a copy, but basically the same shape. But these got a little cane bristle. I mean, that's a 7x12, which I used yesterday, a bit more of a positive bulk down rig. But if you can see there, you'll see the body shape.
Is that one of the rigs you used last week as well?
Yes. Yeah. So the rig I used last week, obviously I've got that one here, which is the same shape, but in a 4x12, so a little bit lighter. But I had on a longer line, so I could control my rig a bit more. And last week, the difference between putting a gram flatty and then went on like a 0.75 round body float, which I'll show you. Find one of them, which is here, I think. Yeah. So these are the sort of body shape that I used last week. The reason why I use them, they're quite a heavy float but short, and that's why they're called shorts, believe it or not. And because you're fishing in shallow water, you still need a heavy float, but you need something you can hold on to. It's a fibre bristle as well, and they're brilliant when the river's got a bit of pace. You can fish a long line and run your rig through right to the bottom of your peg sometimes and carry on catching. So they're the rigs that we missed out last week, basically.
Yeah, those two. And you mentioned the flat floats as well last week as well, didn't you? So
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Because I think we've just got to get used to the fact that we're going to have very mild, wet winters now, and
yeah, definitely.
It seems to be the way for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I should say, and that's the way it's going. Yeah. Okay. So we had a chat a little bit earlier today, and it seems like the match fishing at the minute is a little bit flat due to the tier tier restrictions.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain, a little bit?
Yeah, so obviously it's not advised that you travel between tiers. And in effect of that, obviously, team fishing is... I mean, this Sunday was meant to be the last round of the East Midlands Winter League. Normally it's like the last round, everything to play for. It's always really close. And this Sunday, there's a match organised at Benwick, which would have been one of the venues we would have been using. And there's like 14 people there, which is... a lot of it's to do with the weather, and I think the fact that people haven't got the sort of motivation to go, there's no team ethic, it's, now stay indoors, weather's going to be a bit crap, there's plenty of football on TV, and I think a lot of anglers are using it to do the family things as well, which is good, which you can't blame them really, because match fishing is quite a selfish sport, with preparation and stuff like that in the week. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts, but everyone I spoke to is a bit at the minute on the natural venue sides. I think commercial anglers, the commercial match anglers. I mean, we had 40 there on Saturday for the first round of the Winter League. The fishing's grim. Well, I say grim. If you draw on them, you could have an absolute brilliant day. There was £180 on one lake, and that was off a peg that never is ever any good in the summer. So the fact that they were there this week just goes to show the fish are moving about, but in mass numbers when they do move.
Yeah.
Magpie was one with £165 from peg 8. And then Raven fished all right at sort of a £78, £73 weight Adam. Lots of F1s. The weights weren't as big, but the weights were more consistent on that lake. Whereas the proper carp tend to shoal up, and they don't feed pretty much. They just sit there like goldfish does.
Well, yeah, that's a good analogy. My old man's got a pond with goldfish in, and he hardly feeds them this time of year because he says they just sit there, get comatose. But you're right, it does have that effect.
The fish do move, because on Friday my dad walked round and did some litter picking, and he said, "Oh, you want to go and see the fish on peg 28 on Magpie?" Which, for those that know it, is sort of just an area in the lake. There's some lilies there, and why they were sat there, God knows why, but I took a video, and it was like almost if every fish in the lake was in 3 pegs. It was ridiculous how many fish were there, from sort of 2 metres out all the way to as far as you could physically see. And you could see the ghosties there, and then you look closely, you could see all the other fish underneath them. And it was like, whoa, whoever draws this peg tomorrow is going to have a really good day. It turns out the guy that drew it is a good angler, very competent angler, wins a lot at rookery, and I think he was last on the lake off it, and there wasn't a fish to be seen.
Just moved again.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that anglers are getting down to your pegs as well earlier than they would do because of the rolling draws. Normally, obviously, you draw in at 8, half 8 or whatever, you all go down then all at once, whereas now anglers are turning up at different times, and I think the fish are getting backed off into certain areas of the lake, perhaps that they wouldn't do, because people walking around, more time to set up, so people are getting off their boxes, coming back to the shop, getting a few bits, or getting a drink from the cafe, or, they're moving about sensibly, but they would normally, once you draw, you're there and you're set for the day then, aren't you? Yeah, so I think that might play a little part to it.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. I mean, your dad was telling me that did he fish that match for £180, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think he said on his stretch there was 4 or 5 of them went fish, 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 nothing for the rest of the match.
Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it? Those fish probably would you think they were moving through and just holding up?
I think this time of year, like that particular Lake J, it's 47 pegs. It's a canal-style lake. And when there's more anglers on there, I think what happens is the fish have got less places to hide and back off. I mean, when we have the teams of 3, there's obviously a lot of space for anglers, which in the summer, the more space equals more fish. Whereas I think in the winter, areas that you know are good, consistent, the fish go there, they tend to not be there, or you don't catch them till really late, or like I say, you catch them early and then they back off. A bit like canal fishing, basically.
Right, okay,
Typical.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You go in and what you catch in the first hour is sometimes what you end up with.
Yeah.
And then you might have a few fish come in the last hour. But it's very similar on the Snake Lakes. Raven's a bit different. That's another canal-style lake. The stocking's different, so there's more F1s, and the fish are younger. So I think because the fish are younger, they've not really set in their ways like maybe they are on J. And obviously F1s feed a bit more in the winter, and the temperature was about right for F1 this week. So they caught more consistently all round. There was a couple of 60s, some 50s, 40s, more bites. So yeah, it's. Is
that why you see lots of F1s now in commercials? Because they're
I think there's a lot of.
Are they more kind of user friendly?
There's pros and cons with them, like everything. You know, every angler has their own perception of what should be stocked and to suit their styles. As a fishery, we're 50-50 because obviously we're iron match anglers, more bites, more likely anglers to come, which is what we want. I think you have to get the right mix. If it was too F1 dominated, I think it would favour the better anglers, younger anglers that are more athletic and can catch faster, quicker, can ship in and out quicker. I mean, you see in the summer that video we did on Raven.
Hold on a minute. Are you calling me an old crumbly old man? Because I had to go and I was slow, wasn't I?
No, but I mean, you see how efficient you need to be, and
yeah, but I was. It was hard to be quick.
Yeah, it's a workout, you know.
It was
a
more.
workout.
It was in net, ship back,
keep feeding.
It was
which it's that's what I mean. You need to be able to fish. You still there, mate?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. Yeah,
that's all right. I'm looking at the screen and it keeps coming in and out.
Ignore the screen. We'll just keep going with the
so
audio.
you need to be. I mean, obviously you're fishing long as well, so shipping in and out, toss potting bait in, and then when the fish come in your peg, you got to make the most of it. Perhaps last hour. So that style of fishing is a bit specialised, and I think in all types of fishing, it's getting more and more specialised as anglers get more and more information. Anglers are getting better and better and better.
Yeah. This time of year,
so we feel.
Would you say that this time of year? Would you say do the F1s feed more regularly than the carp?
They do. I think they're a little bit more reliable.
Yeah.
They do shoal up like any fish. You know, winter is aquatic bingo. Whether you fish a natural venue, commercial venue, it is aquatic bingo, and you spend all week prepping, and then you draw a peg and you know you've got no chance. So I think, you know, a lot of commercials go to sort of smaller peg sections during the winter, make it more of a league so they've got something to fish for, because you do know what pegs are going to win normally. So that's why our winter league is sort of 5 peg sections and only paying the lake winners rather than doing it continental style so that one lake, you know, may win the money. So F1s to us, they've got place. You look at all the top commercial fisheries in the country, F1s do play a part, but I think your bread and butter, your sort of club match anglers, and general anglers really, I think probably 5-6 years ago, F1s were like, oh, you've got to have F1s, you've got to have F1s, you know, just ram it full. And I think a lot of fisheries have seen now that maybe their match attendances where there's F1 dominated, you're only getting your specialised anglers that are really, really, really good at that game.
Yeah.
Which, you only have to look at the feeder fishing side of things and why that's taken off, and more anglers have got a chance of competing at that. And I think with proper carp, if they shoal up in the winter, I think you can catch a few. Obviously, some anglers will catch more than others, but I think with them carp in there, it always gives you that chance, And in the summer, if you were fishing F1 venue and after 2 hours you're 35 fish behind, you think, well, what's the point? I'm never going to catch that up. I might as well pack up and go home.
I got you. You got a chance to watch a big carp moving and you can catch it very quickly.
Yeah. Whereas, like you come down the edge and when the time's right and you feed it right, and you can catch a 5-6 pounder a chuck.
Yeah.
And you can soon catch up. So I think you've got to get the right balance.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to please everyone. You can't have too many of one and less of the other, and then some people want more silvers, and you can't have a brilliant silverfish lake without carp, and so it's just getting the right balance and knowing the market. And
I think you do it really well, because we earlier before we started recording, we were having a chat, weren't we, about all the waspy perch that you've got. And that was a really interesting conversation, and Alex and his dad Tim, they really do think about how they are stocking these lakes and how they're trying to make each one slightly different, and you've got plans for the new excavations, and you just it's obviously we'll broach that in other podcasts further along the line, but it takes an awful lot of planning, and a lot of it is it's common sense, a lot of it, but also a lot of it is hard-won experience of doing it and knowing what to do. I think listening to it was really interesting, but I don't want to give too much away because obviously there'll be lots to expand upon in the future. But that's really interesting that you're saying that that the fish, rookery is fishing really well, because obviously at the minute,
it's fishing. I wouldn't say it's fishing well. I'm not one of these that it's the best venue in the world. It's a brilliant venue, and we're always trying to improve it. It's over the few years we've been there, it's got better and better. But I think the more angling pressure it gets through the summer, I think the harder the winters are, and the more they shoal up. They wise up. I don't know. I think they just have enough, maybe, and that's what happens. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Whether you fish March every week, if you don't draw the right areas, you ain't going to win the match. And it's the same on any venue you fish. So I wouldn't say it's fishing brilliantly, but there's a chance of a big weight. It wasn't just rookery that fished well. I see there was some big weights all over, up and down the country, where you had like some colossal weights at Puddle Duck, which again is predominantly carp. Another Snake Lake style, sort of big lake, sort of 100 pegs, I think, one of the original ones. And I think the guy that had the big weight, Gavin Bridge, on Jay, he had like 240 odd pound and was second. So up and down the country this weekend, for some reason, whatever, why, we don't know, but the fish did shoal up really tight again. So
you're very modest. That's the first thing. You're very, very honest about your fishery. But I think personally, Rookery Waters is a brilliant place because you've got lots of variety depending on what you want to do.
Yeah,
and even in winter, it's throwing up some lovely weights. But you're right. I think thinking about the weather last week, we had all that snow melt and rain come down, and it must have been a bit of a shock to the drains, the rivers, and the lakes. Yeah. But then it got mild again fairly quick. So maybe the shallow commercials responded a bit quicker without having too much extra water in them. I don't know, compared to the rivers. But interesting stuff, because if we now go back to your matches, obviously a low turnout for the match you had on Sunday.
Even like the local club matches and that, I mean, they're getting sort of what they should be, but it's I don't know, it's hard to explain to a non-angler that if there's no matches, match anglers don't go fishing.
Do you think also I think it's more of a social thing at the minute as well. We've had COVID, second lockdown,
massively.
And I think it's a bit demoralising, and it's hard to get going again. the weather's a bit inclement, and it's like, and we're out of a routine. I know I was going to go piking this morning, and I just couldn't be bothered. I'm really struggling to get a run anyway, and I just thought, no, not today. And I should have made it. And last year I would have been out there, come rain or shine. But this year, it just feels a little bit with everything that's happened. I think this is probably, I think it's a lot the same for a lot of guys, really, and ladies, obviously, because it's lady fishing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just feels a little bit oppressive. I think once we get to Christmas and relax over the Christmas and see our loved ones, I think, and hopefully as we get into the new year, it'll all pick up again. And with the vaccine on the horizon, I think it will change, and hopefully we can pick up, and it'll get sunnier, and I think that will help. But I just think it's probably a bit dark times for one or two people, and we just get everyone through it. It'll be quite good. But it just seems that the small clubs are the same.
I mean, I suppose when I'm fishing, it's like 5 hours goes like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you're in that competitive zone and you don't think about anything else but what you're doing for the full 5 hours, and it just, I don't know, I suppose it's sort of, that's when you relax, aren't you? It's sort of, it's hard to explain when you're in the zone and you're fishing, and even someone just comes up and goes, "Hello, mate," and you go, "Oh," you're in such in your own little world, aren't you? And I think a lot of people do miss that. Whereas when you go pleasure fishing, for me, I enjoy all aspects of fishing, but it's, I don't know, I don't get in that zone. Like, I'm not concentrating properly. I'm more worried about, I've got an email come through on my phone, or someone's text me, what does he want? Or, and you weren't looking at who's walking about, and you just not, you are concentrating, but not in the zone, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, because I can get into that zone. Obviously, I pleasure fish for the predators.
Yeah.
But I got into a routine last week. I had some clonking fish out last week, and I just managed to just concentrate on what I was doing. I was lure fishing, feeling everything, and it was like, I knew I was going to get one on that cast. You were just in the zone, like everything was flowing. It was, and then as soon as I was in it, I was out of it. And it was like, come on, right, get back to what you were doing, and visualising the lay of the land, and I think that's the mark of someone who's doing well in their sport, when you can kind of relax and go with it. So I understand exactly what you're saying about the competitive element, because that's what you do. You get into the flow, know what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Got to beat the guys either side of you, and you're kind of weighing up what to do in your peg and decisions to make.
Yeah.
And, and when you haven't got that, it's difficult to get going. It's like playing a sport and only having friendlies to play.
Yeah.
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 It's like playing rugby and only playing friendlies. What's the point? Yeah, I get it totally. Have you got any local match results?
I have, mate. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
before we get on to sorry, mate, go on. I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. You carry on, mate.
All I was going to say is, before we get onto those, I was just going to talk about a couple of other things, and then maybe if we go on to the match results, just to sort of tie in.
Do it at the end, like normal. Yeah.
Cool. A couple of things I'd like to mention is middle level commissioners. They are now funding the flyers and business cards for the Fenland Guardian scheme. So really,
that's good.
Yeah, big thank you to them. It's absolutely brilliant that they've stepped in, helped us out, and been very supportive. So had that confirmed last week. So thank you very much. And the other thing is, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Alex. I saw last week that the Environment Agency are, in conjunction with the Angling Trust, are releasing £100,000 to promote angling through these grants.
Right.
Took me aback a little bit, which I'll explain in a moment, and people might have seen a post I put up. From a tackle dealer's point of view, when the first lockdown happened, what do you was there a massive spike, in your opinion, in people coming back into angling or getting involved with it?
Yes, 150% yes. I think there was a massive spike in angling, but I think we touched on it on the podcast. There was a lot of anglers fishing again, but they wasn't experienced in any way. And I think I sort of spoke about how people were using certain rigs that were banned on the fishery, and so I think, it's brilliant, but these new anglers or people coming back, it has changed a lot since maybe they used to fish, and someone needs. I mean, I can't be in the shop and round the lake and doing everything, checking tickets, making sure people are doing everything right and showing them the right rigs and stuff. So I think it does help when, if you've got people fishing, they're doing it properly. In that sense,
yeah, totally agree.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to touch on that in a minute. I'm gonna not rant on. It might turn into a rant. No, it won't. No, I just saw this £100,000, and I thought that was really strange because, on one hand, it's fantastic that the Environment Agency, in conjunction with the Angling Trust, want to promote angling. That's I think that's a fantastic thing to do. But I've got a bit of an issue with this, and my issue is that the Environment Agency actually contract the Angling Trust every year to the tune of £1.15 million to hit different strands. And the first strand is recruiting and retaining more anglers. The second strand is expert advice on non-invasive species, littering and so forth. Third strand is sharing information with anglers through social media and forums. And the fourth strand is enforcement, like the VBS and building bridges. So when I saw the £100,000 being released, I thought, well, that's already been covered in that £1.15 million contract that they have. I mean, it was announced in 2019 that it was going to continue for up to another 4 years. And I thought, crikey. I mean, it's great that these things happen. That's a lot of money, but it's good that this happens. But now this new 100,000 is on top of what's already been done. And I thought it's a bit strange, really, because with COVID, we had a lot of old anglers coming back into the sport and new anglers.
Yeah.
And really, the lockdown did angling a massive favour by getting participation back up. And personally, I'd rather see that £100,000 being spent on the priority, which I feel personally is fisheries enforcement at the minute. You need to prioritise with any business when there's an issue. So I was just asking the question that maybe that money now would be better spent on the extra enforcement. And coming back to your question, I've really got into looking at different fishermen on YouTube. Now, this is something even last year I had no interest in at all. But obviously, doing what we're trying to do, I'm trying to learn a little bit. And the best way of learning is by looking at the successful people. So there's one guy in America called John B. He's got like 1.5 million subscribers. Unbelievable. And you watch this guy and you get sucked into his personality and you think, yeah, I can see why he's got so many subscribers. And I was thinking about, okay, who in the UK promotes angling via YouTube? And there's two young guys called Carl and Alex. They've got 230,000 subscribers. And they've been doing these videos since they were tots. And I think they've been doing it for about at least 10 years. I think the oldest one's 24, 25. The youngest one's just in his 20s. Now, to me, if you want to promote angling, these guys are perfect because they appeal to the youngsters. And you've got people like Graham Pullen. I think that's TA Fishing. He's got 200,000 subscribers as well. So, am I boring you that much? So if you want to appeal to older guys, someone like Graham Pullen, again, brilliant. And I just think, £100,000. Okay, if you really want to do something different with it, like you said, you've got to give people more information on the modern approach to it. YouTube. And these YouTubers, to me, are going to hit far more people instantly than these. They seem like little PR stunts, in my opinion. It's either I'd rather see this money go to enforcement, or spend it on these guys who have set this up and are absolutely brilliant. And I know the Carl and Alex, they do little videos like we did, but far better, far more comprehensive on how to tie rigs for different approaches. So what you're saying for like down the fishery, they could. They would explain to people exactly how to do it in a safe manner. And I just think the Environment Agency worry me a little bit. We are their customers and they need to listen to us. And I just think they're a little bit out of touch, really. And I think, that if they want to be up to speed and a bit more with it, they need to listen to the customer base. And also, YouTube is a fantastic way of reaching people. And I think really...
Yeah, I mean, I sort of spoke well, when obviously fishing was booming again, I sort of said to a few people, I wonder what this extra money's going to be spent on, and how do you think they're going to spend it? And we've seen that they're doing this. There may be other funding for other certain things that they might be releasing. You just don't know. But I sort of said, fishing needs to be made to seem cool and trendy again. When you look at the side of fishing that grows the most, then it's sort of your lure fishing and then obviously carp fishing, because it looks trendy and cool, and it's a bit urban, and there's more YouTube videos, and the kit's minimal, isn't it? Whereas I think match fishing needs to be more sort of jazzed up a little bit.
Yeah. Mate, keep talking. We've got an IT issue straight away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great.
So, it stopped recording for some reason.
Oh. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so, I mean, I sort of said, look at the footballers that go fishing and celebrities, and, try and get a few of them on board. I know, like Dean Macy, but, I mean, a Premier League footballer, or just something, an advert on TV almost, I mean, this $100,000 or whatever they're getting out spending on certain, name the places where you can go and learn this stuff and that side of things.
Yeah,
rather
I think you're
than,
right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they've got plans for all sorts of aspects of fishing, but we'll see, won't we?
Yeah,
see what happens.
Yeah. I don't want to knock it because it's a fantastic thing, but I just think they're a little bit behind with the times, if I'm being honest with you. That's what it feels like. It's not quite.
Right.
I just think, come on, guys. Do we need this now after COVID? There's so many more fishermen. Maybe, like you said, actually spending on quality videos, not produced by the Environment Agency, because no one watches them. They've got so few subscribers. But pumping it through these big channels, that's what I would do, because it's going to get far more coverage. Yeah. Okay, buddy, I've just got to check the time. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Right, for everybody listening, we've had our first IT failure of the night. My camera just stopped for some reason. I don't know why. I bored it that much, it turned itself off, which is understandable.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Right, okay, yeah, I just wanted to raise that one because I think it's interesting for people just to be aware of what's going on. But like I said, not going to knock money coming into the sport to promote it, because I just think it's fantastic. It's just money's tight, and we're going to be in really tough times after COVID because of all the impact it's had, and every penny needs to be spent like 2 pennies, really, but we'll see. Right, buddy, before I bore everybody to absolute tears, shall we go on to the local match results?
Yeah. So we'll start with Ramsey in the Ramo matches. Wednesdays obviously have the usual St Mary's match. I can't remember, they fished probably 13, 14, something like that on Wednesday. And Mark Williams won it with £20 won. Runner-up was In Form Ivan Steels, Mr. Whip, 16-4. Third was Mount Plant, 16-2, which he's done well really because he's sort of been the wrong end almost. And then Dave Steels was fourth with 13-10. So decent weights. I mean, I had a drive about Wednesday. Had a look at a few different venues, and obviously called in there. Knew them boys would be having a match, and it was quite coloured. Bit of movement, which you don't normally get at St Mary's too much. But with all the rain, it was moving backwards and forwards and coming up and down like it normally does. Excuse me. So that was Wednesday, and then Sunday they have their club match. But this Sunday was their Christmas Open match. And excuse me again, it's that beer. It's a bit gassy. Winner was Mount Plant with £21 free.
Wow.
He was on peg 10, which is a brilliant weight from that far down. Runner-up was John Locke, £21 2. So there was just one fish difference there. And third was In Form Ivan Steels with 14.15. And then Matt Page was fourth off the next peg with 13.5. So decent weights again.
Is he a relative of
considering
mine?
the weather. Sorry?
Is he a relative of mine?
Who? Page?
Matt Page, don't know him.
Nah, he's got hair.
It was obviously a different strain of the family. He's probably a bit taller as well.
Yeah, he's from Ramsey way. So unless you've got relatives in Ramsey,
who knows? Who knows?
I know he listens to the podcast, so he'll probably go no.
I think we're more Lowestoft than Pakefield.
Lowestoft.
Lowestoft. Suffolk. Is that Suffolk?
Yeah.
Just yeah. Okay, so that's fished really well again, isn't it?
Yeah, it always does. Saturday we'll see matches. So they had a bit of an away day for them. So they fished Benwick this week on the match stretch 1 to 14. 118 John Taylor won the match. I think it was peg, I would say 10, something like that. £15.7, bits and bobs. Runner up was Jeff Tuttleby, £10.2. Then Mike Moen 9.7 and Mark Barron 9.5. So not massive weights for Benwick, but consistent weights. And obviously the lads, JT fishes it a lot, so he knows it very well. But the other lads probably have never fished it before, so I think they enjoyed it. A bit of a day out from from the 20-foot at Beggars or Carrot Wash or Cockbank or Whittlesey Dyke, so a bit different for them. And then St Neots Hembrook Championships.
Yeah.
So didn't fish quite as well as the week before. Still decent fishing, heavily coloured. Top weight was Alex Dragal. I'm going to hope I pronounced it right. With £9.8. Runner up was Malcolm Gibbs, £7.5. Third was Stu Curtis, £7 dead. And fourth was Morris Mobbs with £6.6. So I think they're doing it on section points. So they got the last round next week, I think. So there's a few close at the top there. So good luck to them. Hopefully the river will be in better condition for them this week. So that's the 3 club matches that I can find that I know of. Like I say, there just isn't any matches at the minute.
No, I think the tier system's completely thrown everybody, and I think because they want to comply with it, then nothing's going ahead with other clubs by the looks of things, which is completely understandable. But on the same front, it must be so frustrating for those guys as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like we said, just not much to be done. Just kind of get on with it, really, and let's get through 2020. I hate saying these kind of things, but things will get better.
Hopefully,
yeah, they will. Okay, just before we finish then, so what are your plans for the next few days? Have you got any matches lined up for yourself?
I don't know where I'm going to go Wednesday yet. Don't know. I may go to the Ramsey match at St Mary's. Again, it's hard enough to find a match on a Sunday, let alone on a Wednesday. So, and obviously different areas, different tiers and stuff like that. It could all change this week. So who knows? We might be in tier 3 and other venues in tier 2, and you don't know how that's going to work. But this weekend we've got the March Christmas Open. So that'll be a busy match, popular match. I think there'll be at least 60 fishing that. So looking forward to that. And then just roll up to Christmas.
Well, you're on form, aren't you? Because we need to speak about last Sunday. Because even though it was only 14 of you down at Benwick, again you did rather well, didn't you?
Well, I did all right. I had a few fish, but it's the same old story with me. When it comes to the big matches, I draw pretty pants, and then when it comes to the smaller matches, I draw all right. And it's a story of my life, really. When you want to draw well, you draw pants, and when it's a bit more chilled out and that, I tend to draw all right. But I was second, drew a decent area, peg 2 at Benwick. It's not a brilliant peg. I mean, people say, I'll peg 2, but I think in the scheme of things, it's probably not the best peg in there, in that little bit there, those that know it. Peg 1 obviously is a very good peg. It's an M peg. 2 is one of the narrowest pegs on the drain. or in that bit definitely. Peg 3 is probably the most consistent peg at Benwick now. There's a boat that sort of comes right out and it hasn't moved for years, so you can imagine how many fish live underneath that. And then the next sort of couple of pegs, it widens up and you've got the willow trees, and then you've got a couple of sort of bushes and that on your bank. Sort of when you get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's normally a few tench, and there was quite a few tench caught this week, surprisingly. I mean, obviously the Wiltshire boys were on there the day before, and I think maybe a bit of bait has helped it. And I think the bigger fish have definitely fed. I mean, Sir Bob, Mr. Nudd, he won the match with 16, 10, I don't know, £16 anyway. And he had a couple of tench, one early and one reasonably late, and then some bits and bobs to top it up. I was runner-up with 15.8, lots of small little roach. It was a weird day, really. I sort of set my stall out as if it was going to be an 18 to £20 day. And I don't know, I should have learnt a bit, really. I think peg 2, you get all the people sort of in the car park walking from there, and I think it takes a little while for the fish to sort of get in gear and know what it's all about, really. And I approached it like I always do, one quite aggressive and one quite negative, sort of down the middle. And I think I fished a bit too short as well. Perhaps another section I think would have helped me a bit more. I think I'd have got more runs of fish. But the fish just didn't want to stay, and that's how Benwick's been this year, really. You'd get 2 or 3 fish off a line and have to keep switching and changing things and just being in tune with what's going on. And I had a nice day, really. I think after the first sort of 40 minutes, my main lines, my middle lines had sort of tailed off, and you could see they were getting less and less. And I couldn't work out whether loose feeding was better or just cupping it and fishing it out. It was close to call, really, but as soon as I went long, it was noticeable the fish wanted to be there, and you could consistently catch. And just kept putting a few fish in the net, which is what you need to do at Benwick, and trying to sort the right stamp fish out as well. I probably had, I don't know, 230 fish, something like that. So
I've been borrowing John Taylor's fish counter again.
Yeah, that's what I need, don't I? Yeah. My phone's pinging away; it'll fall over in a minute.
As it's pinging.
Yeah,
mate. I tell you what, if we get any video footage out of this podcast, it's going to be because everything's gone wrong. Oh, how funny!
Yeah.
Right. So you had. Sorry, I've interrupted you yet again.
No.
Well, it's a good day's fishing, though, isn't it, in those conditions?
Yeah. £15. I mean, it was bitterly cold.
I was going to say, it was horrible.
The wind was awkward as well. It was sort of on your back, but sort of coming front east side on, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I had everything on yesterday: Gore-Tex, thermals, face, like snood, hat, 2 hats, 3 hoods, and just all you could see was my eyes. And of course, the biggest thing when it's like that is your hands get so cold because of the wetness on your pole, shipping in and out, and your hands are like ice blocks. And I think the key is just to keep catching, and you sort of don't think about it too much. And I think once you think you're cold, that's it. It's in your head, and you're sort of not concentrating, and you're sort of, I'm cold, and you're not on your game. But I enjoyed it.
When the pinkies freeze to your fingertips as you're trying to throw them out, then you know it's
No, it wasn't like that. It was just that damp cold. Do you know what I mean?
The horrible mizzle and rain, and it gets into your under the waterproofs, even though you're not wet. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, last week, obviously, the conditions were probably worse, but I felt warmer last week than I did this week. It's what it is, mate, innit? Look forward to this week. Hopefully a few more anglers about. Hopefully the river will be sock on. We're due a bit of rain this week, so hopefully it's not too pacey, but I think if we get a nice bit of flow, it should fish all right. Be interested to see how it fishes as well.
Is it a sellout? It needs to be.
Sorry?
Is it a sellout?
No, it won't be a sellout. I mean, I don't know how this tier thing's going to affect certain anglers. Might be in tiers that can come now, and others might be in tiers that can't. So it's a job to know these days, especially organising a match. It's not ideal, put it that way.
No. Well, I think it's just a case of getting through to Christmas, like we said, and into the new year. It's going to improve.
Yeah, I think it's getting through to the spring, to be honest, in how I see it. I don't know. I really don't know. I think we just got to accept the fact we can hopefully still go fishing, and come spring, see what situation we're in then.
I think you're right. We'll be through the worst of it by then. Right, I'm going to show you one thing. I'm going to be giving that a go.
What's that?
It's
a shad.
A little shad. Yeah,
right.
That's a new colour to me. I don't know what it's called. I have no idea. But I'm going to be chucking those out this week. So let's see if they work. Just trying different things. So I'll be doing a bit of lure fishing, believe it or not, in this cold weather. But I've had some good results, and I don't want to give too much away. But I've had, and you know the answer to this, so don't say anything. I've had 2 PBs in 2 different species in the last week.
Mm.
One was a bit of a fluke, but the other one, Alex has seen the photograph. He won't say anymore. One was a bit of a fluke, but one wasn't. But yeah, it's amazing. Even though we've had that cold water come in, in some spots they are really responding to little lures. But sadly, not pike, because honestly, I'm seriously considering not fishing on the drains the rest of the season for pike. It's got bad, But I don't want to drone on about it on this podcast, but it's got really bad. Anyway, buddy, there's one thing that you need to do.
There is indeed.
There is.
Yeah, obviously, the Facebook competition for the Simon Willsmore Gunny bag.
How many? About 3,000 entrants?
Oh, no, 4.
4,000.
4,000. I mean, about 25. It did take me long to randomise that one. But the winner is Brian Blackamore.
Perfect.
Yeah. So please get in contact, Brian. It'll be on the old Facebook page that you've won. Obviously, I don't know if Brian listens to this podcast, but give us a ring, mate, and we'll get the prize sent out.
Oh, that's perfect. Well done, Brian. Well done for entering, and well done on the other 24 for entering. And we'll do another competition in the new year, and it'd be nice just to see a few more people getting on. Maybe if we can secure the services of Sir Bob, we could do one off that. Say no more.
Who knows?
Who knows what's in the pipeline? Who knows what might happen? Well, buddy, just so everybody knows, the IT side of things, you might not see some of the things we've just gone through the last hour and a half, because I might be able to edit them out. But we've had a few more technical hitches, but we're fairly confident we can put this together via video on YouTube as well. So what will happen is, if we've completely cocked up again, it will just be audio. So no apologies for that. At least we're trying, and it's quite difficult being separate and not being able to be in the same room. But hopefully we've getting somewhere with it now. We can do a bit more of a video type podcast. And once we get the hang of it, it'd be quite nice if people could send in suggestions of things they want us to visually show. So it might be rigs, pole rigs, it could be lure fishing rigs, different setups. So if anyone's got any ideas, send them in and we'll try and visualise it as best we can from my kitchen and from Alex's cell. It looks like you're in a cell, buddy.
Cell? That's all right, mate.
So you just kept well out of the way, are you? So you can't harass anybody?
Yeah. I was used to say I was like Harry Potter. I used to live under the stairs, but I live on top of the stairs.
Brilliant. Is there anything else you would like to add this week?
No, obviously we announced the winner. Gone through a few rigs. Not really, mate. Just hope everyone keeps safe and we can keep going fishing.
I think that's the answer. Just keep going fishing, because it's just one of those things which is, I think,
because if you don't go, you don't get in the swing of things, and then you forget you're going.
Exactly, yeah. And there's only so much Christmas shopping you can do online.
Yeah, only so much beer you can drink.
mate, I'm gonna have to go on a massive crash diet after Christmas. Yeah.
I keep seeing all these matches, and it's like, oh, that looks good. Oh, can't go there. Oh, that looks good. Oh, can't go there. It's like temptation everywhere. God, look at that. That's brilliant fishing. That's a good match. Oh, tier 3. Oh, tier 3. Oh, tier 3. It's like all the good matches want to be in tier 3 at the minute, and not in tier 2. But that could all change.
Well, you got the March Open, so that'll be a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and if the river finds down for the rest of the week, and cause it's going to be mild. It's like 10 degrees tomorrow. Wednesday's 11.
Yeah, 12 degrees at about 1 o'clock today.
Yeah, if it finds down, that colour just starts to drop out. It could in certain areas, like you said. What did you call it? Something fishing bingo.
Aquatic bingo.
Aquatic bingo. If people draw on the right pegs, it could be another fantastic match. Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be good. Okay, buddy, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everybody listening. This has been Tales from the Tackle Shop, a Fenland Fishing TV production.